in turning our trials into triumphs that inspire others. Now, it's about being a beacon of hope, a bridge connecting worlds and catalyst for change. As a global educational reform chairperson and champion of children's literacy, I've learned that our superpowers are the stories that we share, the lives we touch, and the legacies that we leave. It is through those challenges that we mark our presence in this world. So that to be a superhero or a superhero means to embody resilience, compassion, and empowerment. It's about lifting those around you while soaring to your own heights. It's about recognizing that every woman, every man, every person has a story that can light up the darkness. A story that maybe to all the women, girls, men, or boys who are watching know this. You have the power to be a superhero. Your struggles can make you stronger, and it becomes your journey so that you can inspire and create a movement and can start a revolution of kindness, resilience, and most importantly, to become unstoppable. Now, how do you tap into what we call the superpowers, right? Well, there's different things that we can do, and I'm going to just name a few. Resilience, as I already named, the ability to bounce back from setbacks and failures. Empathy. Facing hardship can greatly enhance one's ability to understand and share the feelings of others. And adaptability. Overcoming challenges that require the ability to adapt and change depending on the circumstances that we're living. And the most important thing, I think, is courage. To be able to have the courage to face our monsters, our fears, our uncertainties, to be able to say, I can do it. And it doesn't matter how difficult it might be, you can achieve anything. And the other one would be being able to problem solve, navigating through all the difficult times, teaching individuals how to think critically and creatively. I'm sorry. It's really important to have perseverance, the determination to keep going no matter how hard things get. And of course, being compassionate. Experiencing hardship can make people more compassionate towards those that are also suffering. And then turning all those challenges into wisdom, the golden wisdom that we pass on to generations, letting people know how we overcame our obstacles, our struggles, and our challenges. And most importantly, and not least, is being grateful. Grateful for what you have today, grateful for living and existing, grateful for being in this platform and sharing this moment with all of you, and grateful just for being you. So I just really want to thank everybody for allowing me this space. Gigi, thank you. Love you all, and be great and just tap into your superpowers, because you can do anything you truly desire. Just dare to be you. Thank you.
I love it. Dare to be you. Very powerful. Thank you, Dr. B. We appreciate you. Now, our next speaker is Jana and Champagne. She's an autism mom. She's a professor, a diplomat of medical cannabinoid sciences. Welcome, Ms. Champagne.
I'm sorry, I was muted. Hi, Gigi, and thank you. I'm hoping you guys can see my screen okay. I have a little PowerPoint for everybody today. My name is Jana Champagne. The letters after my name stand for Board Certified Master Herbalist. I also have a diplomate in medical cannabinoid science and past history as a nurse. I'm currently retired from my license, but I have my bachelor's degree in nursing. And as an autism mom, this journey has really taught me to really look for the gifts in my daughter with severe autism. And I just wanted to tell a little bit about her story today. So she was diagnosed severe autism at age 2. She was nonverbal until age 10. She was actually labeled mentally retarded and unable to learn in 2nd grade. And what you see here, I'm going to push play on this video so you can all see her in action, is my daughter at age 9 typing to communicate using an app on her iPad called Proloquo to Go. And so 10 years ago, or 12 years ago now, this was not very well known. We had a couple of examples of parents that were looking to teach their kids to type through the Halo Institute in Texas and SOMA's programs, which is what we utilized. And realistically, it's for these kids that are nonverbal and unable to communicate through words like we do. This is a way to get a glimpse into their minds and into their capabilities. And you can see she's very clearly typing like, yes, you gave me this red balloon, but I want a yellow balloon. And so when our kids are unable to communicate verbally, just these little tweaks in what they really desire and what they're getting can create a lot of conflict and a lot of meltdowns for these kiddos, unfortunately. And so finding a way to communicate with them and really open up their world to us and help us better understand their experience. So for us, this was such a huge piece. And, as a parent, when the school district labeled her mentally retarded, I was clearly seeing that she was able to learn and retain information, that she was highly intelligent, and that it was really a failure on their part to be able to figure out how she learned so they could teach her effectively. So at that point, I fired the school and I began homeschooling. And I was fortunate to find a special education teacher who we brought in to help because I was a nurse, not a teacher. That's actually fairly ironic because today I actually serve as a university professor. So that has changed as well. But at the time, I knew nothing about building curricula or how to modify it for my daughter with autism. So we had substantial help. And thankfully, through that intervention, we slowly began to learn how she was able to ascertain information and what she understood, what she knew, what she didn't know yet, and modify her curricula appropriately. One big barrier that we ran into with her onset of puberty, which came a couple of years after this video, is that she suffered a behavioral crisis with puberty. And this is common to about half of kids with autism. So it's not rare at all. We weren't a special case, but almost overnight, I saw my daughter go from being, very eager to please, very cuddly, very lovable, very, very strong in her relationship abilities, to suddenly she was becoming aggressive and she was beating up her caregivers and beating up her parents and self-injuring. She was punching herself in the head. She destroyed my house. We had holes in every walls, holes through doors, broken glass, broken windows, broken light fixtures. So it was a really severe situation. And at that time, as a nurse, I objectively assessed the options to treat her crisis. And that meant looking at the FDA-approved medications for autism, which are antipsychotics, Abilify or Risperidone. They also off-label use a lot of anxiolytics like benzodiazepines or antidepressant medications like SSRIs, even anti-epileptic medications, which are extraordinarily sedating. And they really just don't give our children the best chance at having good quality of life. Kids on these medications are often very sedated. They're not able to attend to their environment or any information you're trying to teach them. So it can be really prohibitive of their progress. And at the same time, I looked at cannabis as a possible option for her, which has an unsurpassed safety profile, especially with competent medical guidance, and was able to effectively address her symptoms and relieve her crisis and my family's really our entire crisis around this situation, and made our life manageable. It also helped us to better teach her because at this point, when she was behavioral, if we were to request anything of her or try to teach her something or get her to do a writing activity, she would either lash out or she would get up and run. And so it was very difficult to get her to attend to her schoolwork. And cannabis changed that for her, thank goodness. Along with the cannabis, we also had this special education teacher who figured out how to test her. I think that was really the reason the school district thought she couldn't learn, was because she wasn't taking her tests so that they could see what she knew. It was really their approach, and their format was not a good fit for her learning style. In addition, we had an occupational therapist uh, diagnose her as being unable to learn in the classroom environment because she was too busy coping with overstimulation from the lights and the students and the teachers and just everything going on in that environment. It really shut down her capability to learn new information. And so homeschooling really was a big key for her. And once we got, the homeschool teacher on board who saw her intelligence and believed that we could teach her and figure out a way, and getting her behaviors managed with the cannabis therapy, she began to progress 2 to 3 grades every year. So at age 14, 15, that school year, she was still working on 5th grade curricula. And once we figured all of these things out and it lined up, she actually, in about 4 years from that date, through passing several grades every year in her schoolwork, she graduated with her high school diploma in 2021 at age 19 as a 5th-year senior. And now also, after the augmentative communication, we discovered that reading words actually helped her to hone her verbal abilities. And now she's able to communicate with us by speaking with us and telling us her needs and telling us her wants and her desires. It is still fairly limited in her verbal abilities, and she has apraxia of speech, so her words can be fairly garbled and difficult for someone who doesn't know her to understand fully. So we still use, having her verbally spell a word or type a word if there's something we're just not quite understanding. But clearly, she has showed some really wonderful abilities academically. In addition to her academic abilities, we also have discovered that my daughter seems to be able to read others' thoughts. And this came through my interactions with her as her mother, through interactions with her caregivers. And for me, it's been so prolific, and it's happened so many times that she will respond to something I'm thinking, that if I need privacy around a thought in her presence, I actually will stop and think, I'm not even going to think it. I'm not even going to think it. I'm not even going to think it. Another way that we've noticed that this expresses is that she has a good friend with autism. He's about her age, a couple years younger, also completely nonverbal and unable to express verbally. And when the two of them are together, we have noticed that the two of them will be sitting together and they'll both start laughing simultaneously at an unknown that one of them has said. So we've seen this expressed in a few ways. And, I haven't really delved into it too much further than that, but clearly I believe that she has some gifts that have come with her nonverbal autism that we don't yet understand. And this is actually really common in the autism community. There are parents that have expressed this same gift that they have noticed in their child. And there have even been experts that think, maybe these kids' brains are different in a way that they can communicate non-verbally. And it's a way that we don't yet understand. And this could explain why we have nonverbal autism and why some of our kids don't have the inclination to produce speech and communicate in that manner. So I also want to tell the story of Jacob. This is a fascinating little boy who I met a few years ago, thanks to Mom and Dad. It's Ashley and Scott that are sitting with him. Now, Jacob, I met him last year. He was 8 years old. And Jacob learned to type to communicate fairly early on because he is also nonverbal. So he's unable to communicate through verbal language. So mom and dad, being kind of typical autism parents, we tend to be very tenacious and very gregarious about helping our kids. And so once they taught him to type, they were constantly asking him questions, typing questions to him for him to answer. And at one point he was struggling at school, and the school district had recommended a pharmaceutical medication for him. And mom, Ashley, asked Jacob, what do you think of this medication? And his response just completely floored her. He actually responded and said, I would rather try cannabis. Can you guys get me cannabis? And they were amazed because they live in Georgia, Cannabis is not legal there, not the THC form anyway. Parents have never used it. They've never mentioned it to him. It's never been in his environment. So they were floored that he even knew what cannabis therapy was. And of course, they linked up with Unity Formulas, which is a CBD company that I work with, and I specialize in cannabis approaches for autism. So we connected that way. And of course, Jacob did get some real strong benefits from the CBD therapy. And Scott, father, sent me a paragraph that he had typed back and forth with Jacob. And he had asked Jacob, "Do you know the cure for autism?" And Jacob lit up and said, "Yes, I know the cure. It's this thing called SOS." And he had typed this big old long paragraph detailing his knowledge about this fact. Interestingly, another question they had asked Jacob was if he knew his IQ level. And his answer was 500 something. Now, genius IQ in humans starts around 140. So this child clearly is very, very highly intelligent. And this got proven further through this cryptic message about this thing called SOS. That's a autism cure. Now, I couldn't decipher it as a nurse, even with my chemical knowledge of genetics and some different areas. And so I forwarded it to a physician collaborator who's also an autism dad, Dr. Christian Bogner. He's a functional physician in Michigan, and said, "Can you make any sense of this? Like, dozens of other doctors have seen this. Nobody can interpret what SOS might be." And Dr. Christian Bogner, in his brilliance, said, "Hey, you know what? I think he might be onto something. I really need to talk to this family." So I connected the two of them. And of course, the parents were part of this process as well. And on a Zoom call between Jacob and Dr. Bogner, he pulled up some chemical cycles that occur in the human body, just trying to decipher, like, what is this thing you were talking about and where does it fit in and what is the science behind it? And Jacob was able to educate the physician on a chemical cycle that was actually missing from the chart that he had pulled up, and said, "Right here, this other thing goes in here, and this is what's wrong with autism, and this is what fixes it." And Dr. Bogner, of course, took that away and did his research and found out that Jacob was right. He had found a missing link to treat autism that nobody else had ever heard about before. And interestingly, the compound he was discussing was FDA approved 100 years ago to treat cyanide toxicity, but there were no producers of it. So Dr. Bogner took it upon himself to start a product line called Research Elements, which has this product on it and is currently helping lots of kids with autism. Thanks to Jacob and thanks to his parents, Scott and Ashley, that listened to their little boy's messages and honored his gift of knowledge and intelligence that nobody else was really seeing. And this is so common with nonverbal kids that they're assumed to not have intelligence and not really have a personhood or thoughts or beliefs or desires. And we're finding out this is just not the case. And so it's a real testament to his parents as well for really following through on this and believing in their son. Now, I know I've mentioned today just quickly cannabis for autism, and I know many people may not have heard of this and they may think it's controversial. I've actually did a presentation on this at the Global Autism Conference in July of 2022, so you're welcome to go and find that video on YouTube if this appeals to you. I will just say that as a nurse that has served patients seeking cannabis therapy, including those with autism, the research supports that it's helping tens of thousands in the United States. And one research study says that there was 80% improvement in the quality of life of those with autism when cannabis was integrated into their regimen. We see reduction in pharmaceutical reliance, which reduces all of those horrific side effects that are quality of life impairing, sometimes even life-threatening. And when you do the risk versus benefit assessment, as I did, cannabis often wins. And so there are deeper balancing effects as well. And I wrote about that in my article, Cannabis for Autism Harm Reduction, which you can find on my Media Kit website at janachampagne.com. And if you're interested in products that Scott and Ashley used with Jacob, here's the information for that. You might want to screenshot it because there's a little coupon code on there for Unity Formulas. And they do offer free nurse guidance as well. So check them out if you'd like at unityformulas.com, and reach out to me at my Media Kit website if you have any questions. I'm happy to answer them. And I hope this whole story just kind of exemplifies for all of you that sometimes we need to dig a little bit deeper to find the gifts with autism. And I think oftentimes we find that when there is disability in one area of the brain, we see strengths emerging in other areas of the brain, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be super apparent or obvious to us. But I promise you, if you know a child with autism that is nonverbal and not able to communicate their gifts, I hope you find the incentive and this gives you the inspiration to dig and find them because they are there. So thank you so much.
And thank you. Very powerful and very intriguing. Thank you for sharing that with us. Now, our next speaker is Dr. Tanya Goal. She's a family holistic medicine inspirational speaker, author. She teaches yoga. I've been to some of her classes, by the way. You should join in. Very, very powerful. And she teaches laughter yoga. And here's her motto: I don't laugh just because I'm happy. I'm happy because I laugh. Welcome, Dr. Tanya Goal.
Well, thank you, everybody. Can you hear me? I'm having a little bit of technical difficulty, so I apologize if I get disconnected about that. Here, and thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, great. Just thank you, Gigi, for putting this on, and thank you for all the speakers and other viewers that are watching this. I feel just privileged, and Gigi and I go way back, so I just feel honored to be here with my sister and one of my good friends and just mentors doing this talk. So first, you are not a disease. Your body is meant to heal. And as you heard from Gigi, I am a medical doctor, board certified in family medicine, and also specializing in natural medicine. I do certify people for cannabis at Holistic Relief. I have my own practice, Dr. Gold's Optimal Living Institute. I'm on social media, so if you just look up my name, Dr. Tanya Gold, you can find me. And for me, it's all about getting people well long-term. And I work with a lot of children with autism. The parents come in desperation. They are just freaking out. The kids, are getting bigger. If they're strong, they're either, especially if they don't have the means, they're either getting fully medicated where these traditional medications like antipsychotics and if you ever look at the studies, they haven't really been studied in children, but they will give them these doses, even sometimes adult doses, and these kids are just comatose. They're not being children. They're just not having emotions or just not feeling great, and they don't feel good. And sometimes it doesn't even work. And then they get all the side effects of the weight gain or diabetes that can happen with some of these medications. So they come in desperation, hoping for, is it going to be a miracle? I never say that, but what I've seen from parents' reports and just from my observation as well, behavioral components of these patients have drastically improved. They are smiling. They are sometimes verbal, which is incredible in my mind, because this one gentleman, I'll call him Jeffrey, he came and he was 6 years old, never spoke a word, nothing. And, the parents just said, he may never speak, never. And right after he took cannabis and after like a few weeks, he said, oh, Michael's at the door. And they were just like, and now he's getting more words, but it started just with those words, Michael's out the door. And now they're just like so ecstatic to hear him speaking and he can communicate with them better. The other parts are this other woman, a mom who told me about her son who was, again, getting bigger. He's about 15 years old and she was fearful for her life. So thank God that she was able to just, recognize that there is cannabis, because there's a lot of support groups out there talking about it, and helps with anxiety, depression, elevating mood. There's so many benefits. And I would never say it's for everybody, but I'm of what we know with the autism, they use a lot of the tinctures or the stuff that you can use underneath the tongue because they might have sensory issues. There are also patches for those that can put a patch on, which lasts for like 10 to 12 hours, which is really nice. So it can be during school time, or if they're homeschooled, it can be for a nice period of time. But the one thing that we're noticing with the cannabis, especially, I'm not a big proponent of smoking it, and I understand there's some extenuating circumstances for that, but not vaping or smoking, but using the topicals or the tinctures or oral forms, the pills, that it can really change that mindset and change the behavioral components. And then just, again, they're doing better in school. So that's a nice pick me up. And they're already highly intelligent. There's a movie out I just actually saw yesterday called Tyson's Run about a gentleman, a boy who was 15 and the same age as this patient I'm going to go back to. Mom didn't know what to do. So, and they did medicate him, it just wasn't working. So she was actually thinking of sending him to a home, and she really wanted her child to remain at her house. But through cannabis, she was able to have him calmer, his personality return. He was able to get off his traditional medications of the antipsychotics, and he was less aggressive and kinder and verbal with some words, which is so great. And I love to see that communication, just see the parents calmer and just feel like they get their child back. So those are the reassuring stories that I love. And that's why I love what I do, especially with patients, getting them well and happy. I wrote a book on 7 Habits of Extremely Happy People, all about that nothing's impossible. If you think of the word impossible, it also means I'm possible. And it's so true. These kids have so much value, and they have so much determination and zest. They really are superpowers. They're superheroes, in my opinion. And they just bring life to this world because it helps you to, learn patience, but also learn so much love. And they really can be so valuable. So I just want to share that and just thank you again. I'm Dr. Tanya Gold. I'm here if you have any questions. If I could ever be of service for you, let me know. Thank you. Thanks, Gigi.
Welcome, and we truly appreciate you. Very powerful talk.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay.
Now, back to our co-host here, Erica Mitchell.
Yes.
Hey,
So, okay. That was very, very powerful. So our next speaker is, she became a good friend of mine, actually. I had the pleasure of honoring her at my Garden City, Atlanta. So Miss Alina Smith, she's the author. She's also the founder of Trust Your Strength, or a nonprofit organization. Trust Your Strength organization actually provides pretty much everything: transportation, self-care packages, mental support, to NICU families that's in the surrounding area of Georgia and beyond. So that's just a little bit about Alina. So welcome, Alina, everyone. And there you go, Miss Alina Smith.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so honored to be here and participate in this wonderful conference. Everything that has been shared so far has been amazing. Thank you, Gigi. Thank you, Erica, for even mentioning my name, right? It's just so honored to be here, but as Dr. Benavides said, sometimes you have to turn your pain into purpose, and that's where Trust Your Strength was established. As a mom, my husband and I, we had a challenge with becoming parents, and we birthed 2 children that were born prematurely, unexpectedly, 6 years apart. They are now 12 and 6 years old, but it was a long journey to getting to where we are today. Our oldest, he was born 2 months early, and he spent 5 weeks in the NICU. At the time we lived in Raleigh, North Carolina, and he didn't really have any medical challenges, just asthma, really small. He was 3 pounds, 12 ounces. He needed to grow. And never in our minds that we thought that 6 years later that we would be on a journey again where our second child was born 4 months early, weighing 1 pound, and he was a 25 weeker, and he spent 328 days in the NICU. And it was a really, really long journey. I always say that our oldest son prepared us for our second son, because I told myself while going through the journey, just take it one day at a time. If we were there for 5 weeks, then with a 1 pound baby, we would be there for a long time, right? And the journey was really, really hard, and going through it, God kept telling me to trust my strength. And what I noticed through the journey is that there wasn't a lot of resources for the parents. As you know, for us, we were going through it. The goal was to get our baby home. And after almost a year, he ended up coming home. He needed a tracheotomy. He was still on the ventilator. We had nursing services. He was considered special needs. And that was a hard decision for us, because for the first 5 months of his journey, he was doing pretty well. We were actually preparing preparing to leave the hospital. He ended up getting vaccinated, but his lungs was not strong enough for the vaccinations, and he actually had a total setback, and it landed him on the ventilator for several more months, and it was like starting all over again, which led us to the tracheotomy. And we kept saying no. We kept saying no. That's not what we wanted to do. And really, to really be honest, we didn't know much about it, so we had to do our research and find out what would life be like for our child. And through that, it's really what saved his life. It's what saved his life, and it's what allowed us to become advocates, not just for our child, but for so many families after us through our organization. Because now we can say that, the trach was not the end of life for him. It was really the beginning for him to be able to thrive. He's now in kindergarten. He is doing very well. He has no delays, but if we had made a different decision, he wouldn't be here today. So we partner with the Children's Hospital of Atlanta here. I'm on the Family Advisory Committee, and we really do our best to try to educate other parents through our journey and sharing our stories, and just to help families understand that you really need to advocate for your babies, and then also advocate for yourselves through our organization of self-care. We've provided a community of families to lean on each other through the journey, because again, we know that it's not easy. We're on the other side, but we've been able to help over 5,000 families through our events with providing self-care events. We just recently had one a couple of weeks ago where we were able to provide massages for families, foot detoxes, and just self-care and mental health discussions to say, hey, you're not the only one raising a child that may be medically fragile, and you're not alone. And like I said, through our own personal experience, we have a lot of support in our personal family journey, but no one really understood the journey of the NICU or raising a medically fragile child. So we had to create something that we didn't have ourselves. And that's where Trust Your Strength has become really just a labor of love for my husband and I. And it really started out as Trust Your Strength for Mamas in Miracles, just wanting to provide that for moms. And then there were so many dads saying, hey, what about us? They were tapping on our shoulder saying, hey, we need support too. And that mental health discussion is so important, not only to getting your baby home, but once your baby comes home, and there's a different journey of getting them healthy. There's the doctor's appointments. There's so many things that that you forget about yourself. And we've been able to provide that support for the parents to really tap in and say, hey, if you're not okay, how can we provide support? Who do you need to talk to? It's okay to reach out to a therapist, or tap into resources to make sure that you are the best version of yourself, so that you can be there for your children. And it's really been a blessing for us as a family, and sharing our story. Actually wrote a book, as Erica mentioned, called Trust Your Strength, where we share the journey, just the highs and lows of just trying to bring our children home, but then also going through the journey. My oldest son, he really, really wanted to be a big brother. We actually experienced some losses before our second child, Charlie, arrived, and he said he wanted to share his own personal experience. So he wrote a children's book called Born to Win: From the NICU to the Field, and sharing his journey on how he helped his brother get to the point that he is now. And then when we go into the hospital, it's just amazing to see that the families that we interact with, that sometimes you forget about the children that are going through it. There's so many different layers, right? We talk about, as parents, we're focusing on the baby that may be going through the journey. And then trying to get through the journey. But what about those siblings, right? I said we were there for 328 days, and we really had to divide and conquer, right? In the morning, I'm in the hospital. Then in the evening, my husband was in the hospital, so that someone was always there for Charlie. But then when Wendell got out of school, I had to be home. And then for 6 months, he never saw his baby brother, just pictures, right? So him being so small, he was going through it himself. And sometimes you forget about that. So it's really been a blessing with Trust Your Strength, being able to establish this organization that started out just focusing on moms, that have now grown to, let's talk about the dads, and then really, really bringing in the entire family We provide gas cards as well. There's a lot of families that, that are struggling financially just to be able to travel back and forth to be able to be there for their children. One of our initiatives for this year is to purchase a home for families that, here in the Atlanta, Georgia area that may be here in Georgia. Their child may be flown into the Children's Hospital of Atlanta, but they live in Alabama. Can you imagine, having to commute back and forth, but your child is here? So our organization has grown a lot. I always say that we're small, but our impact is really, really large. And I give all credit to God because I never thought that this would be our story. But I said he really chose us because, again, we're on the other side, but it's a journey that you would never, ever forget. And once you get to a place that we are now, it's been just a blessing to be able to pull other families and just provide hope for other families, not just for us as parents, but also through the children as well. So I'm honored to be here. It's just growing, just so many different layers, right? And like we started out just talking about just supporting families through the NICU, then it's this like the medically fragile children, and then now we're supporting families just through children that are ongoing through the special needs and on the spectrum. And I'm like I give all credit to God for what He's doing and the impact that we've been able to make, and just allowing our story just to help other people. If you have any questions or want to see the things that we're doing with our organization, I'll put our website in the chat. It's trustyourstrength.org. You can follow us on social media as well, on Facebook and Instagram, trust_your_strength. And then on Amazon, my book as well as my son book is there, as well as it's on the website as well. So again, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. Thank you so, so much. Wow. Wow. So our next speaker, she was one of my honorees as well in Atlanta. Amazing woman that's making history as well. Renee Waters. So Renee Waters, oh my goodness, she's a visionary. She's a serial entrepreneur. She's also the president and creative director of Freedom Georgia Initiative. So Renee, welcome. So happy to have you.
Thank you so much. I am so happy to be here. Thank you for just allowing me in this space to tell my story. Hopefully, I'll be able to touch someone. My name is Renee Walters, and I am 39 years old. And in 2019, I got married in 2017, and my husband and we were working on having a child. I had a miscarriage like 3 days before our actual wedding. And so we were dealing with that, and we were just trying to take some time before we like try to start again. And then we got pregnant in 2018, and I was just excited because I have 2 older children already, 21 and 17. And so this time it was like, okay, I get to do things differently. And so I had a fairly healthy pregnancy up until we walked into the hospital. I was in labor for 21 hours, and for 11 of those hours, my baby was struggling. She was in distress. And they didn't know what was going on. They were mistaking my heartbeat for her heartbeat. And it was just a lot of wires that got crossed. And she ended up having a traumatic delivery. I had an emergency C-section, and she was without oxygen for a while, I believe close to like 8 minutes. And my husband wasn't able to come in the room, so he really didn't know what was going on. And the doctor, when he walked after she was delivered, he walked straight past my husband. So my husband had no clue until the nurse told him, like, hey, we're taking her to the NICU, but she's going to have to be transferred to another hospital because we don't have the equipment here, which is a warming bed that she will have to be under for 3 days to cool off her brain. I mean, a cooling bed to cool off her brain. And so when I woke up from my C-section, my husband was looking at me, and I'm like, oh, how's Victoria? Who does she look like? I was excited, but I was in pain, but I was excited. And he's just looking at me with this face, like, and I'm like, what's wrong? My baby wasn't even in the same hospital that I was in. She had been moved to another hospital because she was in critical condition, and it was just a lot. She was having 30 plus seizures every minute. And I was like, why are you here? You need to go be with my daughter. So I sent him to the hospital that she was at. And when I got out, I went over to the hospital, and they were just explaining everything that was going on with her. She was diagnosed with HIE, which is hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy, which is pretty much like a adult stroke, but for children. And so they told us that her injury was very severe and that she would have all of these issues like cerebral palsy, epilepsy, she could be blind. And it's like the life just was taken from me. I couldn't even imagine the journey that we were facing. And my husband and I, we had a conversation like, what is our life going to be like? What are we going to do? Because we've never been in this situation before. We didn't even really know anybody in this situation. And Victoria was in the NICU for, I want to say 6 weeks. And I didn't know about Elena's program at that time, but my husband and myself were one of the ones that had to travel back and forth every day to the hospital, buying food every day, just spending obscene amounts of money every single day for like 6 to 8 weeks. And we just had a discussion of, we really don't want our lives to change, even though we know our lives is going to change. What can we do as parents and as husband and wife to make sure that Victoria gets all of the care she needs, get everything she needs, all of the specialists? And it's been a journey. And then once we felt like, okay, we can do this, COVID hits. And so all of her therapies are stopped, appointments are stopped, everything stopped. And so we're like, what are we doing as parents? So we really had to tap into our superpowers. One of my husband's main concern was, how are we going to communicate with her? She's nonverbal. The doctor told us that she would never smile. She would never think. Like, how are we going to communicate with her? And once we brought her home from the NICU, it's like God just, I don't know, he just took over us and took over our household, where any little thing that Victoria was doing, like little moments that she would have, my husband was on it. He was researching. He could tell me like, oh, this is what's wrong with her. And I wouldn't know. Like for months, I was kind of upset. Like, how you know all of this? Like, what's going on? But he really was in tune with our baby, where any little thing like, oh, she's cold, let's cover her up. So we learned how to communicate, and she learned how to communicate with us. So it was just a learning curve for both of us as husband and wife, and Victoria as a baby. We were all getting to know each other, getting to know our new normal. And I said, I didn't want our lives to change. We had to tap into our village, even though they didn't have special needs children or never been in this situation. They didn't understand. We still had that village, and they were there for us. And then when I met Elena a couple of years ago, she was like the relief that I needed. And my husband and I talked about, this was before we knew about her program, like, we really want to help people that's going through this, because I can't imagine other parents having to spend this amount of money traveling back and forth to the hospital. Like, we were literally there every day. The doctors had to make us go home. Like, we spent our anniversary there and everything. They was like, just go home, we got her. And we just couldn't, because as parents, you just don't want to leave your child. Like, coming home every night without our child was just unimaginable. And we worked through it, but it was just hard. So we wanted to create programs similar to what Elena was doing. But when we met her, I'm like, why reinvent the wheel? So every time Elena has an event or has something going on, I'm always there to show my support. Our case is kind of special because we have a lawsuit with the hospital. So some things I can't do or some things I can't say. And Elena has just been a blessing, because I struggle with anxiety of having a special needs baby and always wondering like, hey, what's gonna happen? Every day is different. Like one day we could be at home laughing, playing. The next day we're in the ER for something, and then we're there for weeks. And so I struggle with anxiety with that. And just the self-care events and things that Elena do for the community, that helps me a lot, because I can't take medication. I can't talk to different therapists and doctors about certain things, because then those lawyers know about our case, and then they'll name me unfit because I'm on medication. And it's just hard dealing with that and navigating the system, far as like Medicaid and Social Security and just different things, only because we have this big case. So that's a lot that we're working through. But as parents, it's been hard, but it's getting easier, because we're able to research more, meet more people, and get more knowledge about everything that we're dealing with. So having that community helps us. So Elena, I do appreciate you and Trust Your Strength organization and everything you do, because it's been life-changing for my husband and I to have a community to tap into when we need to. And I definitely want to just say to other parents, it's most important that we don't lose ourselves being special needs parents, because a lot of times we just focus solely on our kids and we don't take care of ourselves. Like a lot of times I falls so, like, I have appointments that I have to go through or things that I have to do, but it falls to the wayside because Victoria comes first. So I often have to tell myself, outside of being a parent of a medically fragile child, I'm still me first. And so I still have to do things for me. My husband and I, we still do date nights. We make sure Victoria has a normal life. She goes to sleepovers. We take her to the beach every year for her birthday. So she still does things where we can have a normal life, but it's extremely hard because she's nonverbal. She's in a wheelchair. She's legally blind. She has CVI. She has epilepsy. So just, we don't have a normal life, but we work with what we have, and it's been amazing. I couldn't imagine not having my baby. I believe God placed us in her life for a reason. I believe this is just a learning curve for my husband and I, like, because I will often say, why me? And then I just think about my past, because I used to be paralyzed as well. 2013, I fell 15 feet out of a attic and I was instantly paralyzed. And I had to learn how to walk again. I had to learn how to do everything all over again. And that was the first thing I thought about when my daughter was injured. Like, I'm disabled myself, so how am I going to take care of her? And it was just, I had to tap back into my superpowers. Victoria was taking half of the medications that I used to take. So I knew how to deal with her. I knew how they would make her act. I knew how they would make her react to certain medicines. So I feel like what I went through was just there to help when I'm with Victoria. I also went to school for neuromuscular therapy, and I'm not able to practice because I'm a stay-at-home mom with my daughter. And all of those things that I've learned in school helped me with my baby, helped me with when she couldn't go to therapy during COVID. I was her therapist. And so just tapping into my superpowers is what helped me the most, like that extra push when I feel like I can't do this or I'm drowning, because I definitely had those moments. But it's just that you have to tap back into, hey, you can do this. This is what God placed in your heart. And I don't ever want to not be a good stewardess of what God has given me. And so I just try my best, even with all of my disabilities and pain that I have every day. I just tap into my superpowers to make sure that my little Victoria is okay, because some of the things that they told me, like they told me I would never walk or I would never be able to do the things that I used to. And I be running. I work out every day. I walk perfectly fine. I have a little limp, but when the doctors told us, oh, Victoria is not going to be able to think on her own or she'll never smile, I just felt like this is the doctor telling me all over again that I won't be able to walk. So I had to really tap into that power for my daughter, speak life into her every single day. Like, you will walk, you will smile, you will think, you will laugh. And she plays, she laughs. She had double hip surgery and she had to come home with these braces. And every night she maneuvered her way out of those braces. And so for the doctor to tell me like, oh, she's not going to be able to think on her own, she's very brilliant. Like, she knows how to get in and out of little situations, like her brace. She'll figure a way how to get out of it if she doesn't want to be in it. And I'm like, this doctor told us that my baby wouldn't be able to do any of this. And she recently just started school, which is different for me and my husband, because I didn't know how we would manage with her being in school and away from us, because she's been with us for 4 years. And now she's stepping into going into school. And it's just been amazing to see her thrive and have fun with friends and participate in all these things that we never thought that she would be able to do. And so again, like, to parents that's dealing with special needs children, just continue to tap into your superpowers, continue to create a village of other parents that know what you're going through, because it just makes it a lot easier. Like I said, Elena and her husband has made myself and my husband's life a lot easier. Even talking to Erica and Jamara, like, it's just a blessing to have these people in my community. So I definitely want to say, find your community, find your village, because that is what helped me as a parent of a medically fragile child. And just thank you for listening to my story.
Wow, very powerful. And write this down, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this message. She says, tap into your superpower. Very powerful. Thank you.
Yeah, very, very powerful. And I just want to say her baby, her princess is a breath of fresh air. She was my buddy at the Whole Awards, so I can't wait to see her again.
She's getting so big. She's almost 4 feet and she'll be 5 next month.
Oh Lord, she almost taller than Aunt Erica. Okay.
She is so tall.
So our next speaker, so this Oh my goodness, she's like my sister. She's the co-founder of God is in Your City, but she's also founder and visionary behind Uniquely Made Nonprofit Foundation. And just to share a little bit about Uniquely Made was built pretty much on her daughter of having unique abilities. Instead of using the word disabled, she liked to say unique warriors, which to me is totally better than saying a kid is disabled, a kid is retarded. All these other things, she like to say unique warriors, and she helped parents that have kids that have unique warriors. So let's welcome Jamara Brooks Palmer.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be on this platform to speak out today. I'm usually behind the scenes. I normally don't talk, but I don't have a problem with talking and speaking out. But I am here today to share my story and just talk a little bit about my superpowers that I didn't even know that I had. So I just wanted to start off with, when we were little and we would read comic books or stories or even see TV shows on TV, you always wanted to be that Wonder Woman, me as a little girl. So I didn't have those Wonder Woman wristlets, so I would use my mom's gigantic bank earrings and use those as my wristlets to tap into my superpowers, as Renee said, like tap into those superpowers. And then I would fast forward to my teenage years when I would wear my lip gloss and I would say I had superpowers. And then fast forward to 21. That's when I became a mom, not only a mom of one, but to two. First time mother, I gave birth to twins, one being perfectly healthy, which is my son Jamari, and then my blue baby girl, Jeremiah. Um, I had no knowledge of any of it. I didn't know that I even was going to deal with that because I had a perfectly healthy pregnancy, as I tell anyone anytime I say the story. I was 34 weeks pregnant, and I just remember waking up that Friday, July 30th, 2010. It's still in my head. I had a terrible migraine, and I woke up and I was staying with my mom at the time, and I called her. She was at work, and I called her and I said, "What could I take?" Because I'm far along in my pregnancy, and I didn't want to take something that could help hurt myself or my kids. So she was like, "Jamari, you far along, but if you need to, just go ahead and take some Tylenol." So I could remember taking 2 Tylenols, and I'm guessing the headache faded away because I just remember going to sleep. And when I woke up, my husband and his best friend was going to Target to put in some seasonal applications. So I'm like, I want to go too. So I got up, I was doing well. We went to Target. While we were in Target, I decided that I was going to go ahead and put some more things on my registry as well as purchase things off of my registry. So at the time I was swollen, but no knowledge again. I didn't know about preeclampsia or eclampsia or anything in that nature because I was ignorant to the fact of, being pregnant, being that it was my first time being pregnant. I didn't know like the health risk and Black maternal health education behind it. So all I know is as I was in Target, I started to feel lightheaded. So I thought that the lightheadedness could have came from me not even eating nothing, as I could remember. I just took Tylenol and went to sleep, woke up, decided I was going to go to Target. I was hungry. So I was rushing my husband and I'm like, come on, we got to go. I'm ready to eat. And all I remember is waking up in recovery. Uh, Long story short, the story that was told to me was I had a seizure. My pressure was extremely high. All of that time, did not even know it. Going back to that morning when I called my mom to tell her that I had this terrible migraine, all that time, my pressure was high. I ended up having multiple seizures before they even took the kids from me because it was either my life, the twins' life, or all three of our lives. I went into emergency C-section. I delivered the babies. And again, as I stated, I woke up in recovery. When I woke up, I could remember my mom sitting to the right side of me. And I tried to get up, but I was in so much pain. And she was like, relax, Jamara, you just had the babies. So I'm like, where are the babies? And then my mom just broke down and started crying. Um, that's when my story began, and I tapped into my superpowers as a medical unique mom. Jemiah was born with tetralogy which is a congenital heart defect. That's why she was a blue baby, and she later developed chronic lung disease. She spent the first 3 months in the NICU and 21 more months in the PICU. So I too know what it is to be in the hospital for a long time. And and to have those resources within the hospital, but they don't tell you about life outside of the hospital. So once Jemiah was released from the hospital at 2 years old, it was December 24th, 2012. I could never forget because that was the best Christmas gift ever. My baby was coming home after 2 long years in the hospital. She was discharged with a trach. She was on the ventilator as well, as Elena said. Jemiah had 24-hour nursing. She had a whole plethora of meds that she had to take. She was on oxygen. She was on a sleep apnea. She was on so many things that, again, I had no knowledge about, but I had to educate myself for life outside of the hospital. Fast forward to years after, now Jemiah is 13 years old. She is doing extremely well. She was decannulated at 6 years old. So she's no longer on a trach. She no longer has a G tube, and she's growing. She's a preteen, and I'm actually dealing with those stages now. I was talking to Gigi, and I told her that what I'm dealing with at this particular moment is the questions that's coming from Jemiah. Again, Jemiah is a preteen, so Jemiah always asks like, "Mommy, why I can't do this?" or "Mommy, why do I look like this?" Because she's not like her other peers. If you see Jemiah, her stature is short. She's a twin, and her twin brother is as tall as I am, and I'm 5'11". So my son is about 5'10", and then you have little old Jemiah, who is about 4 feet. So when they see them, and they don't even know that they're twins, but they're twins. So she's at this age now where she wants to do things such as play sports. I always encourage her, like, you can do it, but we do have to have that clearance from the doctors due to her medical history and her long, extensive medical journey. And it's just those questions that I get. And I was telling Gigi that you don't often hear that, or you don't hear others talk about how their kids with unique abilities begin to ask those questions, and what it is that I can do to help her, maneuver and navigate through her journey as she continues to grow and get older. Jemiah is 13, but developmentally, she's like a 7-year-old. Cognitive and developmentally, she is delayed, and it's a lot. Jemiah does have an IEP. She does extremely well in school, but she does struggle because she's not your typical 13-year-old. I feel myself getting a little, but I'm trying to push through, because that is a part of my superpowers, to show my strength to her and to let her know that she is not alone during and going through this process, because she is unique in so many ways. I do have Jemiah right here, and I was going to bring her to the camera so she can talk about some things if she want. Come on, Maya, if she want, because she does act shy sometimes. Come on, Maya. Say hello.
Hi.
What's your name?
Maya. Hi.
Tell me.
Maya.
And how old are you?
13.
What grade are you in?
8.
And what do you want to do when you get older? What you want to do?
Be a rapper.
You want to be a rapper?
Yeah.
You want to be a rapper? So you like music? Oh, it's so amazing when I see her thriving, because one of the things that she have gone through, and the things the doctor said that she would never do. So it's just so amazing. And even when Jemiah was on a trach, and she didn't have a speaking valve, but she would overpower her trach. That's why, if you notice, she speaks like this now with her chin to her neck, because she was so used to speaking like that, overpowering the trach to use her vocal cords. But this is Jemiah, my warrior, and I'm just so honored to be her mom, and just here to share her story. As I stated earlier, I'm working on, letting her know that it's okay to be different, and that she can do whatever her heart desires, because there's no limitation to anything. She can be whoever she want to be and do whatever she wants. And yes, that is my story.
Thank you.
Oh, oh, oh my goodness, that is just it just melts my heart. And Jamera, make sure you put your website in the chat for everyone. And she also made custom capes, unique warrior capes for children and parents. It's just completely amazing. So the next speaker
Is John?
is, yeah,
Yes.
you got it. Okay.
Yes, yes, my friend. Our next speaker is John Stutz. John, aka the modern Noah, is a mechanic, a publisher. He's a professional driver and an aspiring comedian. Growing up with autism was challenging, but he has been able to function normally without medications in his adult life. He has many years of experience in the fireman and paramedic field and some in corrections. Growing up in a military family shaped his need to always serve his community, which led him to become a community director for a nonprofit where he co-hosts podcasts Learning with Faith. Welcome, John.
Thank you, Gigi. Can everybody see me right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is so weird. I cannot even see myself. Gotta love technology, everybody. Gotta love technology. Thank you for the amazing intro, Gigi. It has been so phenomenal taking these last few weeks to be able to get to know you as well as my associate and beloved Isleth, Zeladon. So we have loved every bit of the conversations with Miss Gigi, and it's all been so amazing. We've both been so pumped up and excited for this conference. I've been rolling back in my mind everything that I want to share with you because, being an autistic male, and dealing with different I don't want to use the word turmoils. I like to use the word obstacles. Um, it's definitely been a challenge. And so, I love to share my story with others and try to inspire people. I actually am an autism awareness advocate. That's something I love to do. So another thing that I love to do is I actually go down to St. Jude and Children's Miracle Network, usually during the summertime when I host my large car shows, and we try to raise money for autism awareness. And, it's such a amazing community to be a part of. We love everything that we get to do and the hearts that we've touched this far. I plan on inspiring and touching as many hearts as possible in this life. So my biggest thing that I had to overcome, and I'm sure that some of you may be aware of it, was anger impulsivity. Anger impulsivity is very, very common for people who have a form of autism. See, whenever I was diagnosed with autism in the 90s, there was certain names and classifications that dealt with each form of autism. So I was diagnosed with what is known as Asperger's syndrome, which it still falls in the ASD. Um, Asperger's is more of the learning curve in the autism field. So with Asperger's, and it really just depends on one person with Asperger's compared to the next, but in most cases, it's the inability to keep up with forms of learning, education. Like me personally, you cannot just give me a textbook and say, hey, go at it. I'm a very hands-on, physical, like if I can see you do it, I can almost completely copycat you. So growing up, the talk with the cannabis was something that was coming around and about more often as I was going into my teenage years. And my parents had asked me if that was something I would be interested in. And I'm very stubborn and bullheaded at times. I said, no, I want to try to do this on my own. And I found my comfort, believe it or not, in music. That was where I really shined my artistic ability. That's like my motto that I tell everybody. I'm not autistic, I'm artistic. And because there's so many different things that I've become gracefully good at. So whenever I was in high school, I was actually in a jazz band and also in a state winning Pride marching band. We actually would travel the state of Missouri and compete in state competitions. And we were first and second place state runners for about, I would like to say about 5 going on 6 years whenever I was in there. That was an amazing, amazing time. I eventually learned to fall in with what my family did. So I am what you call a prodigy. So my father and the 5 fathers before him all served in a line of public service. So, and we were usually either law enforcement, firefighters, paramedics, military, social workers, mechanics, truck drivers. I wound up doing a lot of what my family did. So I spent the better part since I want to say 16. I took a very big interest in everything. Really got to run with the big boys, as I would like to say, whenever I turned 18, and I will be 27 actually next week. So an amazing time because my birthday is April the 7th, and then I get to have the glory of watching the new solar eclipse the day after. So I'm like, this is God's gift to me. Even though it's not on my birthday, it's God's gift to me. But my biggest challenge just came to me 2 years ago. So trying to grow up with autism was rough. For me, it was so rough because I wanted the hard way. I didn't want to take an easy route. I wanted to prove myself. Didn't have that conversation with myself about raising a child with autism. You put us two in a room together and we'll cause all sorts of chaos because he's a fire sign just like me. So it was definitely a culture shock and a half because we are both autistic, but not in the most useful ways possible sometimes. Like we love to cause his mother some unruliness some days. We are complete polar opposites. So when dealing with autistic individuals, something you'll come to find out that they are either a social butterfly or they are a very antisocial homebodied kind of individual. And that's what I've noticed amongst each autistic individual that I've ever met. You're going to get one of the two. So I love to go out and experience the world and try new foods, even though if I don't like it, I said I have the opportunity of trying it. Him, on the other hand, if it's not cheeseburgers, chicken nuggets, macaroni and cheese, or pizza, no, not doing it. I was able to tap into my superpower and I was able to inspire him, even if it was just to try new foods. He was so upfront and willing to hear me out. I have gotten him to try different forms of pasta. I've gotten him to try calamari, other forms of seafood. Like this boy looked at me like, ew, you're gross. But that has been my biggest blessing is to be able to have my own child that's just like me. And so, and for those of you that are confused about the numbers, I just happened to find a very lovely woman with a pre-started family. Okay. That way the numbers don't look weird. But he has truly been my blessing because I've gotten to understand more about autism because of him. So, I've worked in a lot of different fields where you got to learn about these things, but it was never on a personal level. And whenever you tap into that, you will be amazed with the knowledge that you're given because you're like, well, I did things this way. and they do things this way. And so whenever you're parenting a child like that while dealing with autism yourself, it your spectrums clash a lot. And so you have to find those neutral grounds with one another and learn to compromise. So, in a sense, um, you know, there's a saying that I love to give, and I give this to all of my people that I come to meet and interact with. I'll tell people, I wouldn't trade you for the world, but I would trade the world for you. I would not change anything about me. I would not change anything about him. That boy has been a blessing in my life, and it's like I said, it's taught me quite so much. And the amount of potential he has, this young boy is 12 years old and is already working on his 4th book. His goal is to publish as many one book a year until he's 18. You tell me how many children can say by the time they're 18 that they published a book from 10 to 18. But where my superpower really shines is being in public service. I have that undying willingness and drive to want to be out in the community. Like, I could see someone that's broke down the side of the road. I'm willing to help. I want to do what I can. Even if I can't help, I can sit there and say, I did what I could. I used the abilities that God's given me to use and go on. Like the other day, I ran up on a 7-car pileup. Even though I'm not active service anymore, I still have that fire and that willingness to want to stop, because I can't just drive by knowing that someone could possibly be hurt. There's been times that I have stopped, and I'm so glad that I did, because there was people that was dying. There was people that needed medical attention. And luckily, having the knowledge that I do, I made a difference and I saved someone's life. You never know. That's why I personally encourage people, hey, if you feel like you can help in a situation, don't be afraid to stop and help. For people who haven't done it, hey, talk to your local American Heart Awareness advocate, or someone who works in the medical field about getting your CPR and first aid. You never know when something like that will come in handy and when you could change someone's life. I didn't want to be a doctor because I don't think that I'm intelligent enough for that, and my ADHD acts up with my autism. I don't think I could do it. I gotta be like go go go. I can't sit in one spot all the time. But it's so amazing to be in here with such like-minded individuals who have overcome so many troubles growing up and so many adversities. Everybody's autism is not going to be the same. Everybody's challenges will not be the same. I'm so proud to be in this presence because I've never met such like-minded individuals that have such a great grasping understanding of what it means. I will advocate for autism until I take my last breath. I will do everything that I can to make sure that the children of this day and time have a great, bright future. I've been advocating with some of the state reps in Arkansas about giving more to the communities to help with children with autism and to helping those families who may need, extra with income or rent, utilities, because I know there's a lot of families that are struggling with that right now, even in low income areas. And so I want to be that voice. That's the reason why I got, yes, as Angelica said, with the publishing, I got really big into that because, we have had a lot of individuals that want to do so much. And my goal is to see them succeed. I don't care about the money. I care about the soul happiness, the soul peacefulness. But Gigi, it has been amazing. I'm so glad that I got to share my story. For all of y'all that are in here, please be sure to tune in with me. Come into Learning with Faith. That is our faith-based podcast. I'll give you that quick background before I get done yammering. Otherwise, you're going to sit here for like the next 5 or 6 hours, because then I'll just ramble on to subject after subject. And I don't think anybody has that kind of time today. Learning with Faith was the new podcast we decided to come up with. Excuse me. I try not to show any sentimentalness to it. It hurts because of the meaning behind it. Because it's still something that I struggle with right now. I lost my grandmother back in actually on Halloween of last year. That woman was my biggest inspiration in life. She always pushed me. She pushed me to be a man, to grow up and not take no for an answer. Keep your faith right with God. Keep your faith right with yourself. No matter what you do, I'm proud of you. Keep pushing. Don't give up. Don't let somebody strike you down. Just get back up and keep going. And whenever I knew that she was becoming ill, my heart shattered to a million pieces, because it's like my biggest cheerleader is not doing too well. Now she needs me to cheer her on. And so I was there through all of it. It got to the point where she knew your face. She knew who you were, but it couldn't come out. And that's when we knew that the time was coming. And then the time came. I did what I had to do. I was one of her pallbearers. I went back home to Charlotte because I am from Charlotte, North Carolina. And I said, you know what? I want to do something that will include my grandmother. I want to honor her and who she was and who she continues to be. And so my grandmother's middle name is Faye. So because of her high lovingness and resilient faith with Jesus, we decided to name the podcast Learning with Faith, because of the root word of faith is Faye. And so hence how we came up with that. And I still will share a bit of a short bit of that with every viewer that decides to come in maybe for their first time. Because my grandmother had died of ovarian cancer. And so that's how I really started bumping up and wanting to advocate for not just autism awareness, but cancer awareness, because it is a very, very big thing, especially amongst women nowadays. Ovarian cancer has just gotten worse and worse. And, like I said, my goal is just to inspire people. I cannot thank y'all enough for sitting here and listening to me. It means the world to me. For so long, I felt so afraid to share my story because I was ridiculed a lot just on the basis of having autism. I was bullied. I was actually physically bullied, verbally bullied. I overcome a lot of adversities, but guess who's still on top? I'm still standing today, everybody. Their negativity never got nothing on me. Half of the people that bullied me and ridiculed me, believe it or not, are actually 6 feet in the ground. They chose a life of hatred and hatefulness and drug abuse and all these turmoilistic things. And I sit back and I say, you know what? I'm sorry that you're not here. Even though you hurt me so much, I'm still so sorry that you're not here. I wish you could be here, because that's the best blessing that you can give to somebody. Whether you dislike them or, dare I say, hate them, the best thing you can do is just wish goodness for them, wish goodness to their families, to their children. There's no reason to show all this hatefulness because this world is full of it. And I'm going to be that shining light that makes the positivity shine through. So, guys, thank you guys very much. I appreciate you for taking the time to listen to me. I'm going to hand it back to the lovely Gigi right here.
Thank you, John, and thank you for being transparent. We truly appreciate you. And happy early birthday. And also you received some comments in the chat. They're saying happy early birthday as well. And Nicole as well. Nicole Reyna, she just celebrated a birthday as well. So happy birthday to you as well. And so we have 2 birthdays here. Awesome. And then we have some comments in the chat. Nicole says, sounds like my kid. Children are your greatest teachers. And then the comments continue. It says, you're amazing. So true. And then I believe we have some more comments and they say, you're amazing. And again, thank you so much, John. We appreciate you. Now, next, you're welcome. Our next speaker is Nicole Reyna. She's our keynote speaker tonight. And she's a facilitator, a mindset coach, an author, and a motivational speaker. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you so much, Gigi. You guys are all beautiful. This has been an incredible evening of just empowering stories, and it's been hard to hold back the tears. It's really moving to see everyone. And it's really appropriate for my talk tonight because I'm talking about resilience, and I see so many examples of that right in front of me, and it's just absolutely wonderful. So thank you, everyone, for your bravery and your courage and really coming out and sharing your vulnerability. It's been an honor to be here tonight. So resilient. It's a very powerful word and it's a powerful skill, right? Resilience is a reactive state of mind. It's created by exposure to suffering. And the disability community especially are continually exposed to some of the harshest experiences that truly challenge their physiological and physical well-being. With each challenge that's overcome, the resilience is slowly mastered as a skill. We learn to live with it. But what is resilience exactly? What is it? It's that inner strength pushing us forward when everything seems to be against us. Resilience isn't just a trait, it's a human spirit way of saying, I won't give up. The same thing that John was saying earlier, you're still here, you did not give up. And it's our hope in tough times. It's our reason to keep going when things get rough. And it's a reminder that we're capable of more than we think. When I was a child, I was exposed to very challenging situations that physiologically embedded me in the feeling of not being good enough. It lasted for decades. And this was unfortunately created when, after my diagnosis of being a fully deaf, mute, and mentally handicapped child, my stepfather decided that I would be quote unquote normal. And he refused to acknowledge my disability and instead put me on the path of being a normal child, whatever that meant. In fact, he decided I would speak fully and I would attend mainstream school without any request or consideration for my accessibility needs. It was more of, you're going to do it this way, and this is how it's going to be done. I was given hearing aids at the age of 18 months, and this was expected to suffice. Captioning was absolutely out of the question. I can remember watching movies with my parents and constantly asking them questions. What did he say? What's going on? What is this? And I noticed that my constant questioning was quite frustrating to people. So then I just learned just to watch the pictures. And so a lot of what I learned growing up was just watching pictures as I see them. And I just decided not to ask too many questions so I didn't have to deal with the frustration of communicating. I learned to speak at the age of 4, and I started school as expected. I became a highly proficient lip reader, and I sat in the front of every class. When it came to communicating, I listened to every single word that was being said because I did not want to miss a single thing. Even if it was extremely toxic, I took it as truth because I didn't think anybody would ever lie to me. So I took it as gospel truth and just absorbed every single thing that said. I believe I simply had to do this because of my condition. I was supposed to be normal, and I was told that in order to be normal, I had to speak. So my version of normal was to speak normal, to hear normal, and just appear as normal as I could be, which meant that I suppressed who I really was and I became someone later that I barely didn't even know. I soon rejected myself completely, and I developed a propensity to shame, and I bought into the stigma of having a disability. I believed I was not good enough to the core of my being because, again, I was not normal, because my father told me that I needed to be normal, which meant that I wasn't normal in the first place. I saw everyone. If you had your hearing, you were perfect, and you were without challenges. You had an easy life. I felt that if you had your hearing, you had everything going for you, and how in the world could you struggle with anything? Kind of silly, right? Eventually, I discovered and developed a strong need to belong. That was one of the biggest things I can remember from my childhood. I desperately wanted to belong somewhere. And unfortunately, I made a lot of decisions that seriously impacted my well-being, and it impacted me in a very negative way. And while my stepfather's intentions were to mold me into the strong, independent, and capable individual that you guys see in front of you today, he neglected to consider the psychological implications of such a decision. Add to that the exposure to a highly dysfunctional family environment with a violent parenting style in the name of discipline. My father was also an alcoholic, and I also suffered from repeated emotional, physical, psychological, and sexual abuse among my siblings. And all of this had a negative impact on my life. My mother, unfortunately, was paralyzed with fear, and her way of coping with my stepfather controlling and violent behavior was to keep her head down and focus on working because she was the breadwinner of the home. My father stayed home, he retired early, so my mom was forced to go out and work. And unfortunately, she didn't know a lot of what was going on because I just kept a smile on my face. I just hid everything, all of my pain with a smile, because it felt better to smile than to tell the truth. And it especially warmed my heart when I could see my mom smile and the moment that I see her happy. So I worked as hard as I could to bring home the best grade, straight A's when I could. I had the big aspiration. I was going to be the big, brilliant, powerful woman with a briefcase. And I had all these dreams, and I was going to have all of these degrees. And I just had so many desires in me to prove that I could be that person that was normal. And soon I learned to hide who I really was. I learned to smile through my pain. And when I smiled, I noticed that everyone liked it. Everyone brightened up. So I thought, ooh, this is the way. And instead of processing my pain, I just suppressed it and kept smiling and kept running and kept creating this ideal person that never existed in the first place. If you have ever heard of smiling depression, it's a thing. And I actually created it within me and unknowingly. And so I just smiled my way through every single challenge that I could ever experience. My constant shame and incessant need of belonging and being good enough overrode any conscious effort of ever changing my reality because of my toxic belief that I had to be normal and I was never there for myself. The silence that I experienced without my hearing aid, so I am 98% hearing challenged, and the silence that I experienced was just unbearable because it gave me a constant reminder of the condition that I was facing. So I just filled my head as fast as I could with as many thoughts as I could. It could be, what kind of club was I going to be a member of? I became as busy as I could be so I didn't have to sit in the silence with myself. And unknowing to me, my propensity to avoid pain caused me so much more. It propelled me further into darkness as painful experiences soon followed me through school. Just like John, I faced violent bullies and humiliation almost every single day as people mocked my disability and the way I talked. I was truly unable to see that my own lack of compassion for myself was compelling the cruel treatment from others. And it wasn't until later on in life that I really understood the mirror concept and how important it was that we had to embrace ourselves as we are. And then we can improve ourselves however we want to be, but we had to embrace and accept who we were in the first place. And my inability to accept myself brought on a whole world of pain that I was unaware of. But in spite of all of this, I made it. I'm standing proudly in front of you guys today. It's such an honor to be able to be a speaker and to share my story. And resilience saved me because deep down, I always believed I could make it. I always believed in myself. And eventually, I found that lost little girl. And today, we are mending our relationship. I discovered a shining spirit in me that was always there in the silence. Resilience is what saw me through, and it's what keeps me going. And I want you guys to think back to a moment in your own life when the weight of the world seemed unbearable. Perhaps it was a setback in your career, a heart-wrenching loss, or a seemingly insurmountable obstacle blocking your path. In those moments, it was the resilience that whispered in your ear, urging you to press on despite all of the odds that are stacked against you. Resilience is not the absence of adversity, but the courage to face it head on. It's the willingness to adapt, to learn, and to grow from every trial we encounter. It is the refusal to be defined by our circumstances, but to rise above them and to emerge stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever before. History is replete with examples of resilience and the seemingly insurmountable odds, from the indomitable spirit of Nelson Mandela during his long years of imprisonment to the perseverance of Helen Keller in overcoming the dual challenges of blindness and deafness, to the resilience of community coming together in the aftermath of natural disasters. Time and time again, we witness the extraordinary power of the human spirit to endure, to overcome, and to thrive. But resilience is not just a quality possessed by extraordinary individuals. It resides within each and every one of us. It is the quiet strength that lies dormant within our soul, waiting to be awakened when called upon. It's the realization that no matter how dire our circumstances may be, there's always a glimmer of hope. There's always a flicker of light guiding us to a brighter tomorrow. We only have to look for it. So let us embrace our own resilience, let us nurture it, and let us draw upon it in our times of need. For it's resilience that will carry us through the darkest of night and lead us into the dawn of a new day. And it's resilience that will ultimately define not only who we are, but the power of who we can become. In the words of the poet Maya Angelou, one of my favorite historians of all time, you may encounter many defeats, but you must not be defeated. In fact, it may be necessary to encounter the defeat so you can know who you are, what you can rise from, how you can still come out of it. So let us rise, let us persevere, and let us triumph, for we are resilient, and the world is ours to conquer. Thank you.
Wow, absolutely amazing and very, very inspiring. Thank you for sharing that with us, and thank you for sharing your superpower with us. We truly appreciate you. And ladies and gentlemen, make sure to take note. And Nicole says, embrace yourself as you are. Very powerful. Thank you, Nicole. Now, our next speaker is Charla Schultz, Nicole Reina's mother. Charla Lee Schultz,
And
writer.
this could not have been planned any better. And I do believe that it was our Lord and our Savior that was looking down from above and said, hey, look, you have something prepared, ready to say, but your daughter needs to go before you because that's not what you're supposed to say. And it's amazing how he works in our lives. You have to understand right from the beginning that I'm a nature nut, that I love nature and I believe in being nurtured by nature. But I didn't learn that observation and that nurturing from nature until I was blessed with my daughter, Nicole. Yesterday was a double celebration. It was a birthday because she celebrated coming into this world as I celebrated giving birth to her. So we both marvel at the day that she was born. And it's quite, as I sit here and recall that day, I remember that they did not bring me my baby. And I often wondered, where is my child? I don't understand. It was hours that I was there in the bed. She was born. I knew that, but I was given no word, nothing of her condition. Was she okay? Was anything wrong? I just didn't see her. And then when she was brought to me, this beautiful, beautiful little girl, which I was so excited. She had no hair. I took a little pink ribbon and I taped it on the top of her head because I wanted everyone to know that she was a little girl. Everything seemed fine. It was normal. There was no indication anything was wrong. And it was not until her papa, my daddy, one day in the kitchen, he made a comment. He said, I just don't think Nicole is hearing what we're saying. And I said, Papa, are you sure? He says, yes. He said, and he was a very observant man. So we took her to Birmingham, to the Children's Hospital, renowned doctors. And the doctor pretty much looked at me, washed his hands, and said, there's nothing we can do. You know, she's mute. She won't speak. She'll probably wear diapers the rest of her life. Just take her home. Put her in a room. I'm looking at that doctor like, what? They're telling me to neglect my child? Well, that really wasn't the worst part of the story. Because when I got home, her father rejected her. Totally. That's not my child. It cannot be my child. I cannot have a defective child. And I knew at that moment that that man had to be out of my life because he was no good for me. He was no good for Nicole. I was fortunate in a way, unfortunate in another, that I remarried. But it was not until I divorced her father, I remarried, and then I became a widow that I realized the turmoil that she endured and the total dysfunction of a marriage in which I stayed in fear and I believe just total blindness. She was so well adept to masking what was going on inside her. She could smile, the happiest child in the world, make you feel wonderful, and never know for a moment anything was wrong. She never opened up to me. I never knew what went on in her life because she hid it so well. To the point that when I found out, which was, as I said, much later in my life, some 40 years later, we became extremely, extremely close. Nicole went through a lot of rages, a lot of anger, a lot of times when she would lash out at me, and I would think in my mind, back in my mind, you know, why is this happening? But then at the same time, I remember the worst episode when I sat there and I listened to my child just totally offload everything that she had been carrying, burdens inside her that I never, ever heard. And I sat there and an angel just sat right here on my shoulder and just said one word. I'm sorry. Listen. 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 And that's what I did. And that listening to my child brought us so much closer together that I understood as best as I could the pain and the suffering and everything she went through that I never knew. And my word to you today, listen, look for the signs. and listen intently to anything, any words, any movements that your child may give you, anyone out here who may be listening to this message, because it's so important that you take that to heart and do what you can. And the second thing was her getting me into nature. Because when her stepdad died, I became a recluse and my health deteriorated tremendously. And I'm lucky to even be alive today because of her. And it's because she got me out. I was shut in and I would not leave. I wouldn't see anybody. She got me out again, got me into the woods, got me into nature where we both enjoy so much. And because of her hearing disability, which is improving, by the way, it is getting better day by day, believe it, I'm telling you. She has the sight that she can see the little things that I don't see. So the little tiny insects and the little tiny movements and the 4-leaf, the 5-leaf clovers that she finds, the tiniest, like my little fingernail. It's amazing what she has brought in to me that has strengthened my life so that she is my superhero. I love you, Nicole. And I'm going to encourage everyone here to get outside. Take your child and go outside. And if they start questioning, you know how the incessant child, Nicole, when she was younger, she used to always, why, mama? Why? We all go through that with our children. And we think, oh my gosh, it's like the woodpecker pecking outside. Will she ever stop asking me why? Well, next time they start questioning why, put it in the perspective of all, AWE, all. Because our Heavenly Father has given us the most beautiful, awesome planet to live on. And we take it for granted. And we don't sometimes realize what we can pull, the energies and the refreshment and the rejuvenation that we can pull from nature. That's why He gave it to us. Our interconnectedness to nature is unmeasurable. So leave with those thoughts today. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the time with your family. And thank you so much, Gigi, and for everyone being here for allowing me to have this opportunity to share my story.
Wow, absolutely incredible. Thank you, Charla. We truly appreciate you. And I took note here. You said listen. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're joining us on the front end today or on the back end, or if you're going to tune into this once this conference is done, make sure to write that down. Listen, Charla says. Charla Schultz, listen. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Now, our next speaker is Paul McFarland. He's a global Fortune 500 business strategy, branding, and culture, bringing the best of humanity forward. Paul has decades of experience healing both brands and work teams with simple, powerful strategies and beautiful creative ideas. From award-winning creative branding for clients, large and small, to writing a peace plan for Afghanistan and presenting it to NATO, the United Nations, and the U.S. State Department, he brings innovative, fresh ideas, creativity, love, and optimism to everything he touches. Welcome, Paul.
Hey there, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just put in the chat a link to my website in case you want to know more. It's my name with the word "the" in front of it. Pretty simple. Amazing listening to all these stories of people and the people that we love accessing power to make it through what others would call setbacks, traumas, tragedies, and problems to a new place of happiness in life. It's beautiful to hear. What is power? Oh, we all know what it is, but where does it come from? Well, power is energy that you can use. Power is an ability to do something, but where does it come from? Heard a lot of people talking about God. You know, and before we ever had airplanes and rockets, we assumed in that mysterious up there, that's where God in heaven was. It's the ascension and heaven's up there. But, you know, maybe what that has taught us, that power is omnipresent, ever present, everywhere. My beautiful friend here, who I helped get her background picture done, she talked about nature. There are people who call something God's country because it's so overwhelmingly beautiful. There are those who like to climb mountaintops, and there are those who like to be very quiet in a forest and listen. So what I'm here to sell you on is the idea that power, accessible power, is omnipresent. But to be able to use it and to be able to become even more powerful, you have to be in harmony with power. And what does that mean? Well, be in harmony with something means if you're here and you want to be up here in life or health or whatever, you have to be it and then do it to have it. So you need to be it, think it, feel it, even before you do it, and have that power inside you. So to be in harmony with it, I believe, and I'm speaking from personal experience, this is not my opinion, this is experience, to learn to be resourceful, to be full of resources. One resource right now is everyone that's here. We have an amazing kaleidoscope of humanity telling stories of overcoming and persisting and perseverance and love and more, which is beautiful. So one way to be in harmony with power is actually to practice. Oh yes, practice. Do you spend time practicing what makes you you? Well, what makes you you? Are you already good at it? Everybody wants me, I know that. But the point is, if you practice, and how can you practice being in harmony with power? Well, let's see. You can get into nature and feel the gratitude of the beauty, the sustenance from mind, body, and soul that is ever present everywhere. You can see a person. See, one of the great greetings in the world is what they do, Hindus and Indians say, namaste. And namaste means many things, but it essentially means the divinity in me recognizes the divinity in you. The power in me recognizes the power in you. But there's also the quiet time, prayer, meditation, when you enjoy being with yourself and you notice and feel and celebrate your own power. Now, here's another way to get power: rest, sleep. You know, if you studied medicine of any kind, you know that the medicine doesn't really go into the body and put something in there that's magical, makes it all better. It actually goes into the body to help our body heal itself. And rest is one of the most important ways to heal. Plus, the other thing is, if you know anything about farming, yes, farming, what does it mean to have a field go fallow? That means don't plant anything on it. Don't plant corn or wheat season after season. It gets tired and doesn't produce as much. Fallow enriches the soil. It lets all the other resources come into the soil and rest and be ready. So many times when we feel powerless, we're tired. We're worn out emotionally, physically, spiritually, whatever, and we need to rest and we need to trust in rest that renews the spirit, renews our cells, our body. So to be in harmony with power means to be friendly with it, to be grateful for it, and to practice it and notice it everywhere. So if you see a sunset and you see the beautiful colors, and depending on where you are, that actually comes from impurities in the sky. But say it's beautiful. you can notice in yourself that you already are a conduit to all the power that is. The only thing you can do is diminish it by lack of gratitude, lack of self-care, lack of feeling a sense of love. Because the power of love in your work, in your spirit, in your heart, in your family, in your words, is probably the greatest power of all. I think it was Jimi Hendrix said, when the power of love overcomes the love of power, ooh, then we'll be somewhere. So to be in harmony with power, notice that it is ever present everywhere. And if you can find power and beauty and joy and life in a pile of garbage, in a tree, in a puff of wind, a cloud, in the face of someone you call an enemy, if you can see the presence of this beautiful divine power everywhere and everything and celebrate that every day, guess what? You will be in harmony with it, which means all you people who have already done amazing things and overcome so much, you know what this power is I'm talking about. You've received it, you've cultivated it, you celebrate it. But if you need even more, practice a little bit more. Power. Be in harmony with power. And you'll have more power to give. That's it.
Wow, absolutely incredible. Thank you for sharing that with us, Paul. We appreciate you.
Yeah, yeah. This was absolutely just pure amazing. Everyone's testimonies, everybody's stories. I just want everybody to give their own self a hand clap. You guys was amazing. And make sure you put all your websites and information for everyone to follow in the chat, guys, definitely. So I want to introduce our host that put all this together. We all call her Gigi. So I hope she'll give me if I'm missing her name. Rachelene says that. So she's a world-renowned motivational keynote speaker, award-winning author, a life coach. She is the host of Walk With Me podcast on JRQ TV and CEO and founder of Life Service Center of America, which is endorsed by Les Brown. So welcome, Gigi, guys.
Wow. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. That's our co-host, Erica Mitchell. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate you. And it's such an honor to be here with each and every one of you today. We heard from amazing speakers from all over the world and such an inspiration. Powerful talk. My God. Wow. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you again for being here with us today. Now, at this time, I want everyone to unmute. Please unmute your mics. Yes, your voice matters. And when I count to 3, I want you all to say with me, I will not give up on my dreams. Are you ready? When I count to 3, 1, 2, 3. I will not
give up
on
my
my
dreams.
And one more time, unmute. Ready? 1, 2, 3. I will
not
not give up on my dreams.
No way.
Wow,
No way.
powerful. I love it. And remain unmuted, please, because what we're going to do next, we're going to go over 5 affirmations. So I'm going to state an affirmation, and then I want you to repeat the affirmation. Are you ready?
Ready.
The first one, God is with me wherever I go.
God
With me
wherever I go.
Wherever I go.
Very powerful. And that's stated in Joshua 1:9. God is with you wherever you go. So always remember that. Now, the next affirmation is, I accept myself unconditionally.
I accept myself unconditionally.
Unconditionally.
I love it. Very powerful. Louder, right? Next, I am enough.
I am enough.
Enough.
Yes, you are. And now the next one is, I am strong and resilient.
I am strong and resilient.
Resilient.
I love it. And the last one, I am whole.
I am
whole.
Yes, you are. Very powerful. Thank you all. I truly appreciate you. Now, I do have a disability acronym here. And if you like to write it down, I'm going to say it very slowly here. So again, that's a disability acronym. So the D for disability is don't give up. And the I in disability is intelligent. Yes, you are intelligent. If you're listening to this message today and you've ever been told anything different, maybe you were told that you're not good enough, or that you're not smart, or that your disability is going to keep you from so many things, or that you're going to remain limited, or you can't do this, or you can't do that. I'm here to tell you, again, remember this, you are intelligent and I believe in you. Now the S in disability is serve, regardless of any diagnosis. Yes, you can serve. I can't tell you enough how many times I've run into an individual and they say, well, because of my disability, I've been told that I can't do this and I can't do that. Yes, you can. I believe in you. I believe in you. And God has called you to do so much on this earth. And whatever it is that he's called you to do, remain in purpose and continue to.
No, what happened?
Serve. Now the A in disability is be you. Always remember to be you, no matter what. And the I in disability is inner peace. Yes, your inner peace truly matters. And the L in disability is let go and let God. Yes, we've all been there. And again, it's so important to remember to let go and let him. And remember, we are the children of God. As God's children, we're called to serve his people, and he's in control. Now, the I, again, the next I in disability is incredible. You are incredible. If you're listening to this message today and you feel like you're not enough, I'm going to tell you again, you are incredible. And now the T in disability is terrific. You are terrific. And again, I believe in you. And the Y in disability. Are you ready? It's you are beautiful. Yes, you are beautiful. Now, I was diagnosed with learning disability, reading disability, and ADHD. And by my doctor, that was the diagnosis. And he says that it's not that I can't read, it's just that I read slowly. And I was advised by him to have an accommodation of a room alone and more time. And again, that's by my doctor. And so you see, my faith helps me get through those challenges. And I truly believe that your faith can truly get you through as well. And again, that's an accommodation in the classroom under Section 504 of the Americans with Disabilities Act that was recommended by my doctor. And again, I was diagnosed with a learning disability, reading disability, and ADHD. And so again, I'm going to tell you that if you have a diagnosis, whatever that may be, you're not alone, and that you will get through this. And again, that I believe in you. And write this down, everyone. This is a quote that I'm going to share with you. It says, everyone has a unique superpower or disability, or maybe you don't have a disability. So my question to you is, what's your superpower? So I'll say it again. Everyone has a unique superpower or disability, or no disability at all. But what's your superpower? Put it in the chat. What's your superpower? Yes, you. And I can see you here with me here, and you may be wondering what that is. So maybe you just need to get quiet. Oftentimes that's what's required is just to get quiet, and that way we can hear him, right? And God will reveal that to you. And once he reveals that to you, again, and also purpose, stay in purpose. I believe in you. And now lastly, I want to remind you about the importance of faith. And I believe in God, or whomever you believe in, or whatever term you may use for your God. Remember that you're not alone. Again, that he's with you wherever you go, and that whatever challenges that you may be facing, that he's with you, and that you're supported, and not to give up. If you're on the brink of giving up right now, I encourage you to hold on. And you know what you're holding on to? You're holding on to faith. Keep the faith. I believe in you. Thank you. And now at this time, I'm going to pass it back over to Iceland and Kevin. They're here with us, and we're going to ask you all to unmute and join us on stage. Welcome, welcome.
Hello, everyone. Yes, I thank you, Gigi, for everything that you do. All these conferences are always amazing to be part of, and I asked my son because we already had a practice. Just like John said, like he sometimes is very nonverbal, and so I'm lucky if I get 50 to 60 words out of him sometimes. So for him, this was his first kind of he's had an interview before, and we practiced it, but this was his first time like speaking, engagement type of thing. And he's slowly getting used to speaking with all the speech therapists, which I definitely want to, commend all of the therapists that help everyone with their disabilities. Like, as a special needs mother, like I wouldn't be able to do my job as a parent so easily if I didn't have the guidance of all of the amazing therapists that do their like such a hard and diligent work with every kid that that they help. And so I always have those amazing therapists where I have those talks with them, because the more that I verbalize with them, the better then they can help my son. So yeah, just definitely wanted to shout out all the amazing therapists in the world because they definitely helped me so much. And I definitely want to speak to all the special needs parents out there. Like, if you don't have that relationship with your therapist, create that relationship with them, because I mean, it helps me so much more when they know that what's going on at home too, so that they can better, help your child. I loved the I can't remember exactly who it was, but somebody talked about having that community and growing and being part of that community. Like, that is so important in any kind of special needs parent. Like, if you don't have that community, definitely find it, because I've been able to help my son thrive because of that amazing community. And so, Kevin definitely wanted to talk a little bit. He already shared, I know you guys heard a little bit earlier. He definitely wanted to answer any questions that you might have for him. He is 12 and he's doing the best that he can. I'm excited for, what he has coming up, all the books that he's going to publish, and I'm just glad that I gave him that goal. And so if you're a parent out there and you don't give your children goals, definitely do that, because he would have never even published the first one if I didn't, have him, challenge him. So definitely challenge your kids. Doesn't matter if they have a disability or not, challenge them and always push them to be something and do better. And so Kevin, definitely, this is Kevin Bautista Zeladon. He since he was 3, he's had therapy. So if he's able to do everything that he does now, it's thanks to not only the support of my family, but definitely his willingness to grow.
Hello, Kevin. I'm 12 years old. I have sideburns and a beard at the age of 12. I'm an author and an artist. You should know that. I published like three books. The 4th one's in the works. You should probably know all 3 of them. They're all on Amazon. My goal is to write 1 book per year on October 31st. Except for like holiday specials, or yeah, holiday specials.
Congratulations. That's what they're saying in the comments. Yeah, his favorite genre is horror. I mean, and I know that he talked about R.L. Stine. So
Yeah, R.L. Stine is the creator of Goosebumps. And I have books of R.L. Stine's Goosebumps series. Because I went to the books on an event at October 26th, 2023. I was excited.
yeah, he was super excited to meet R.L. Stein. We got to get his signature and got to meet him in person, and it was a very special moment for him. As you can tell, he knows the exact date.
Here's I saw a question. What was your
And what was your initial calling to write? What was it about? So one of the questions they asked is, why did you start writing?
It was kind of like a challenge. I started writing. I started typing in like fourth grade.
Okay, but why did you want to start writing books? And why did you want to start writing scary stories like R.L. Stein?
Maybe kids just want to be scared or not, or they just want to like read more books about like gruesome series.
So you liked that the Goosebumps would entertain you, so you wanted to entertain other people similarly,
Yeah.
like him.
Yeah.
Okay. And then they ask, what are your books about?
Books about horror.
So what are the first one, Kevin Walks at Midnight, that one has a little bit of Goosebumps references, and then what else?
Eventually killed Kevin. There's some gruesome references. The third one is Welcome to the Apartment. That's some gruesome references to episodes and other book in the books.
It also has like Among Us, so like video game references. So he incorporates like Among Us, and what's the other one?
Minecraft.
Oh yeah, Minecraft. So he incorporates all three and just creates these stories.
It also has murder.
Well, yeah, because horror usually. I will say this, so I read his third one, and his third one has a little bit of romance, which I just thought it was interesting. And to me, that's really cool to see the growth in, his writing, not only his writing, but the third one, it has definitely a whole chapter just about romance. So it was pretty cool to see that. Oh, Gigi says, I am a true crime fan as well, Kevin. We have that in common. So, oh yeah, he likes all things.
Also, my drawings called Kevin's. Calmer, that's
Oh yeah, go bring one.
One, Kevin's.
Oh yeah, so for anybody that doesn't know, all of his books, he creates these little Kevins, and he draws them. We want to eventually make them into like plushes, because he has a big collection of teddy bears. And so we want to create his little Kevins into like little plush things. So in every monster that he creates, he draws it first. And so a lot of the times when he's in his little creative mode, he'll just draw something and that will inspire his chapter. So he's bringing one so you guys can see one of his little drawings of Kevin, so you guys can see. But to me, it's a joy to be able to have him as him not being very verbal. Whenever he writes these stories, it kind of gives me a glimpse of what's going on in his mind, which I already knew he was funny. And you can tell, like, even though it's a horror book, he has a little bit of humor in it. And so I already knew that there was going to be a glimpse of his humor in his books, because he's a very joyful kid. I'm very fortunate and thankful that God gave me a very joyful kid. So Niece says she likes horror too. She's listening down. Yeah. Yeah. But he's bringing one of his Kevin's drawings so you guys can see. Okay. But no, yeah, I think it's a joy to be able to, like, and a lot of people, they think of disability. To me, I feel like now that I know what autism is and everything, it's an ability that I don't have. Like, there's things that the way that he can think that I can't think like. And so even though, culturally and, they claim it as a disability, I feel like it's definitely an ability that they have that other people don't have. So here's one he wanted to share with you guys. Here's one of his drawings, his Kevin's here. There's one. He usually cuts them out and he'll draw them and it'll inspire his next chapter. And so if anybody has any other questions, definitely let us know. Anything else you want to say, Kevin?
If you're wondering, if you're wondering when the sick books gonna come out, or like some books gonna come out, did there be like a condition? It's gotta get popular. That's the only condition for books that they come out.
Oh yeah, so he did share with me that even though all of his past books are horror books, by year 6 of him publishing a book, he's either gonna stay in that genre or he's gonna change it. So
No, that's not what I meant.
that's not what you meant? Oh,
He's
never mind.
still gonna say horror. It's still gonna say horror, but in book, like book 6, book, year 1 or 6 does suppose don't get popular, like I might stop.
Oh, okay. So you want, okay.
I might stop the series and
Oh, okay. So he's gonna stop the series, is what he's saying. Okay. I was confused. Sometimes he'll say he's gonna keep writing that kind of book, and then so he'll end his series at book 6, is what he's saying. But thank you so much, Gigi, for having us on, and we got it's been a blessing to be able to share his little Kevins with you guys and just kind of answer any questions you guys have. I'm glad that he's more open to these types of things. So thank you so much.
And thank you, Islith and Kevin. We truly appreciate you. Now, we do have some closing remarks from Dr. B, and then also our co-host, Erica Mitchell, and then we're going to close out with prayer. Welcome, Angelica.
Well, thank you. Like, your stories are amazing. I was a director for more than 20 years, an educator for 30, and all in the area of special education with a very specialized area. And it was helping students to be in inclusion and to be in society and accepted. And so I was able to see both the parent side perspective, the teacher's perspective, and the administrator's perspective. And I had to mediate within all of them whenever they called me to difficult IEP meetings. However, one of the things that I've noticed that I really want to applaud many of you, and Kevin, I just want to applaud you for creating and stepping into your passion, because one of the things that I've noticed that people begin to feel sorry for students that have disabilities. And whenever they would say, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm like, sorry for what? You know, and we cannot be sorry for our kids. We have to bless them. We have to find their interests. We have to find their strengths. We have to find their superpowers. And if there's no jobs for them, then what we would do is that we would create jobs for them so that they are part of the society. So there's one story that's, I'm going to make it really short. As a diagnostician, because I'm an educational diagnostician too at one point, and we would assess kids to determine disabilities. And at one point, one of my friends that was a diagnostician told me there was a student, he was ready to graduate, he was in a wheelchair, multiple disabilities. Everybody thought that he wasn't understanding because the communication wasn't there. So he couldn't even move. And when they put this device on him, on his head, and they put a computer in front of him, through the computer and the movements, I really don't know how it works, but it was beautiful to see. He said, I'm so happy to communicate, right? In his own way. I'm paraphrasing here. And he said, all my life, people thought I was stupid. And that broke my heart. It broke my heart when I heard that, because now he's able to communicate. Now he's graduating. Now we were putting him out into the world. And it was like, oh no, what have we done to him? We secluded him. We did things that were not right because we did not know what he was thinking, how he was feeling. So parents, go look for anything and everything. Advocate for your kids. Find the devices. There's assistive technology teams in the school districts. Ask the assistive technology teams to come in to assess your kids to find out if there's tools that will help them with their communication, right? There's low tech and there's high tech, like they offered him towards the end. Advocate. Sometimes districts are not going to want, as a director at the time, I know that sometimes they fight because it's very expensive. You advocate for your kids because your kids matter. If they cannot find a job for them, create a t-shirt business, create anything, any type of business that will help them find their purpose. Otherwise, their spirit dies. Okay. And I just needed to say this because as a director, I've seen it all, from abuse to support to not knowing how to support kids. So my heart is with you, Dr. B. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'm more than happy to help you in IEP meetings. Okay.
Very powerful. Thank you for sharing that with us, Dr. B. We appreciate you. Now, our next speaker, and this is the closing statements from our co-host, Erica Mitchell. Welcome.
I just want to say that, first of all, thank each and every one of you for coming on this evening. This was just pure amazing. I just want to say, remember that your abilities are stronger than your disabilities. And remember that any differences that we're going through are not limitations, but the sources of strength and resilience. And let us leave here today with our hearts filled with courage and our minds empowered with knowledge. Okay? Because y'all have some powerful stories. Y'all doing a lot in the communities. So I just want to thank everyone for coming on. You can follow me on social media. My name is now Erica Green because I'm a newlywed now, but you can follow me on social media, Erica Green. But now I just want to bring on to end out in closing prayer my spiritual sister. She's my mentor. She is the visionary of Gracefully Broken to Arise and Serve. And she's going to close us out in prayer this evening, Prophetess Cordelia Adams.
Okay, if everyone can close their eyes, bow their heads, we're going to end with prayer at this time.
Good evening, everyone. Let's bow our heads, as she stated. Also, let me just say that this was such a powerful, powerful, powerful conference. Thank you all so much for allowing me to tune in. And I just want to encourage each and every one of you that your stories matter and that also they're powerful, and that you are chosen. God has chose you all. And thank God for grace and mercy, because that's what you all look like. Father, in the name of Jesus, we come before your throne just humble as we know how to be, God. Father, just to give you praise, just to give you honor, just to worship you, Father. Father, just to tell you thank you for life, health, and strength. Father, we thank you because, God, we can come before your throne once again and ask that you will forgive us for every sin, the seen and unseen, omission and commission. Father, we thank you because this is the day that you have made and that you said we shall rejoice and be glad in it. Father, we thank you for each and every speaker, for the visionaries, for the co-hosts of this conference, God. Father, you know what your people need at such a time as this one. And Lord, we thank you for giving them all strength in both hands to be able to come forth on today, God. Father, I ask you now that you will continue to keep them and cover them and remind them that they are a chosen priesthood, that they belong to you, God. And that, God, that you're using them for your glory and for their good. Father, remind your people that it did not happen to them, but it happened for them. In the mighty name of Jesus, Father, I pray right now that you will continue to bless each and every one of them, oh God. And God, I pray right now, God, that they will be reminded each and every day that they belong to you and you belong to them, God. And that, God, you are using them for such a time as this one, oh God. So, Father, we give you all the praise. We give you all the honor. And, Father, we thank you that we were able to commune here today together, oh God. Father, you said when 2 or 3 or more are gathered in your name, that you are in the midst. Well, Father, we thank you for being omnipresent and all-knowing. We thank you for being too wise of a God to make any mistakes. Father, we thank you now, and we praise you and we honor you. And it is in Jesus' mighty name that we pray and we say amen, amen, and
Amen.
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 Wow, very powerful. We truly appreciate you, Prophetess. Thank you so much. And again, it's been such an honor. And I do see Kevin here showing his drawing here with us. Kevin, do you want to hold that up real quick before we close out? Awesome. Love the drawing, Kevin.
Yeah, he wanted to show another one. So, after the like drawings, he started like giving them different powers and like describing them basically. So in the beginning, he would just draw them. Now, like he's older, he's more advanced, and so now he's describing them and what they do and everything. So I think he wanted to share that with you guys.
Do you know what's his name?
Well, this one.
Yeah, this one.
Okay, what's that thing?
Yes.
I don't know, Kevin. Let me see it. I don't know. What's the I don't know.
I think you cheated.
Okay. It's this particular one is called You Cheated.
Hold it right in front of your body.
Good one, Paul.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, that's the name.
Yeah.
That's what he looks like.
But those are his drawings, so thank you guys for having him share it with the world, and it's been a joy. And thank you for
Absolutely.
that amazing prayer. It was awesome.
You're welcome. And it's such an honor to have both of you here today and everyone else as well. Thank you to all of our amazing speakers, our sponsors, and thank you again for being here with us today. We truly appreciate you. God bless you all and be safe. Have a good night.